This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is the Wednesday edition of VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here at Circus Sports downtown Las Vegas. Our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. My friend, we got a couple of nice San Diego days of weather here in Las Vegas because we know if you're out here in the desert, and it's mid-May now, right? You know what you're going to be getting in a couple weeks. So, Jensen, when we get days like we had the last two, you have to almost book them. Like a nice win, you take those wins, you kind of book it, and you don't think about it. That's what we had here in Vegas for the last 2 days. So it's been perfect weather. And maybe it triggered walk-offs all over the United States yesterday in Major League Baseball. Can you believe what you saw last night?
Yeah, buddy, great to be back with you. Feels like this week is flying by. Oh. And, 3 walk-offs in Major League Baseball within a span of, 10 or 20 minutes was pretty wild to see. You mentioned the weather. It gave me flashbacks to a little GVR retreat, a little Green Valley Ranch to, kick the tires and light the fires, as we like to say. So enjoy it now because you're right. The triple digits are coming and going to be one of those sweltering summers, it feels like, out where you are.
It's going to be hot. Are you coming out? Do we have any Jensen Lewis plans to come out to Vegas?
We will for sure because you got to do the in-person, proxy service sign up for the contest there for Circa Millions and Circa Survivor. We have not officially locked it in yet. It'll probably be. Now, here's a part about planning. Okay, so I'll be in Omaha, for the College World Series with the contingent. Here amongst our great company and our great network. So it'll be good to get out there and see it. I've never been during the College World Series, so excited to do that. As well, you got to pick your spots there in July and August when you come out to Vegas.
I was just saying, when will you be making that pilgrimage back out here? It's going to be a hot one, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Always good when we have you out here as well. Obviously, we're getting into the heart of the summer, which means football season is right around the corner. We do have a great lineup today. Our buddy Tyler Fulgham is going to join us from ESPN. Boy, whenever Tyler is on with us, it's going to be not just NFL schedule release. I'm sure we'll get a lot of Rams talking there. But PGA Championship, he and I have a standing bet. It's the last year he might be able to cash it. We'll get to that. And he's going to break down the menu that Xander Schauffele had. I know you saw it, Jensen. The meal looks spectacular. Yeah. I know it's never the Champions Dinner at Augusta, but maybe one that's getting slept on. So we'll talk about that. And Tyler did have a little guest appearance on Guy Fieri's show. So he's a guy that knows his food. Sean Little's going to join us as well in hour number 2 to break down the NBA. And we know that one team is already set, certainly from the East. We'll get to that here in a little bit in highlights and headlines. Adam Burke, our guy Burke, he's going to join us here in hour number 2 as well, or hour number 3 rather, as well, to break down Major League Baseball, everything we're seeing there. And then Wes Reynolds, part of Long Shots. If you've not listened to Long Shots yet this week, it's already up wherever you get your podcast. So that's, of course, Wes Reynolds and Matt Brown, Kelly Bidwin. They're going to give their best bets, so we'll get them straight from the horse's mouth with Wes in the third hour. But without further ado, let's get to it, our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
It is all over in the city of Cleveland for the Cavaliers. We'll get to that as Indiana has now moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who's going to play them? Well, we know no matter who it is, Jason Tatum won't be playing because, yes, the worst fears have been realized. It was the Achilles that everybody assumed it would be for some reason. They just wanted to say lower leg injury for a while. But no, it's the Achilles. And next season, not just this season, is now in jeopardy for the great Celtic there, Jay Tatum. And look, you hate to see it. I mean, this happens. I'm sure Warrior fans are going to say, cry me a river with what's happened with Steph Curry. You know, with Donovan Mitchell, who did play last night, despite that loss in Game 5. But now you look ahead to tonight with Boston, their season on the brink. They're still 4.5-point favorites, which I find interesting against the Knicks tonight. Sometimes, Jensen, you know this in major sports. You lose your top dog, and let's make no mistake about it. He is their top dog. And you lose him, and sometimes you can kind of rally around the flag for a game or two. Do you think part of that plays into tonight's handicap?
I don't. I think this is it. You know, when you take that kind of blow for not only what he means to you on the court, but when you know in that locker room, even though they've got home court tonight, you always realize that when we need our guy in crunch time, he's not there.
Yeah.
And all due respect to Jaylen Brown, who has the contract that he does, he is not the prolific scorer, or the irony of now the Superman commercial that's going around on various networks that Jason Tatum is not putting on the cape and coming to rescue the Celtics. More so than anything, Dave, as we look towards the future, because with Achilles injuries, he's likely lost for all of next season. You and I started to surmise a bit yesterday. Do they blow this thing up? Do you trade a Kristaps Porzingis? Do you entertain potential offers for Jaylen Brown? With the way that their salary cap is set up right now, and I mean, it's not good. Okay, no. You've got $100 million, almost $110 million cap hit between Tatum and Brown, just for next year. So they are going to have to massage this thing. They're going to have to entertain it. All of a sudden, I don't know what they can do to potentially get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, because you're not going to have Jason Tatum, and it may not even work from a salary cap standpoint. But I think now the realization that if you want to compete again next year, it may be dire straits, knowing what that diagnosis for Tatum is.
I'm with you there. You wonder, was it good enough? Obviously, the construction was good enough last year to win a title, right? So some people are going to go, wait, why do you have to blow it all up? But the money is going to be an issue here going forward. And I'm with you. I think they do have to look at this, and they're being real with themselves. Before the injury, they were down 3-1. That happened with Tatum very late in that game. They're already down 7, so it was going to take a Herculean effort in the last couple minutes of regulation to even push that to an overtime. So I think it is fool's gold a little bit to say the injury is why they're not going to get there. They were going to be down 3-1. Now, could they have come back with Tatum? That we'll never know. But I'm right there with you. I kind of look at that and I go, very interesting what it does mean for next year, especially if he's lost for next year or the majority of it. What does that look like for the C's going forward? So massive news there. We did mention we'll get to the Pacers here. They have moved on with that Game 5 win last night against Cleveland. But there is big news. We talked about it on our show a couple weeks ago here, that tonight at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati is Pete Rose night. And remember, we were talking about the documentary that's set to come out here. Basically, will Pete Rose be able to get in the Hall of Fame? Well, one big step to that happened yesterday, because Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred announced that not just Pete, but other legends of the game, Shoeless Joe Jackson with the Black Sox scandal back in the day, and other deceased players were removed from the league's permanently ineligible list. So it opens up the door for Pete. It's going to be an interesting night tonight in Cincinnati, which was obviously already in design before we got this announcement yesterday. I don't know. Pete Rose himself, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago here on the show, Jensen, was pretty adamant that he did not want to go in posthumously, but he's now eligible to do that. Does that set the stage? Because clearly it's now that track is there for Pete to get in the Hall of Fame. Is that why you believe Rob Manfred did what he did yesterday?
I know that the commissioner qualified his statements and the reasoning behind why Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe and a myriad of those players in the Black Sox scandal had been removed from that list. The best part of that news is that he's now eligible because of, again, I don't think any of us really discounted whatsoever the physical tools and the ability of what he did. It wasn't a steroid issue. It wasn't performance enhancing. He is the hit king for a reason, and that record may never be broken. In fact, in our lifetimes, I don't think it will. So here are next steps. The classic baseball era committee used to be the Veterans Committee. Will now have, I believe he'll be on that ballot in a year or two. If I understand correctly. So they'll meet in December of 2027, with all indications that he will be put on there. And I would be hard-pressed to think he won't be selected. I am thrilled that, and unfortunately, baseball has a lot of, how shall we say, grandstanding members that have votes for the Hall of Fame. I am thrilled that they have no control over this, because many of them have no feel whatsoever about what this man did on the field and how hard it was to accomplish what he did. All that being said, and the irony here is what we do on a daily basis, Dave. Gambling is legal in almost all of our states now. And once we end up getting there, every one of the United States, and we hope it gets there, we'll have the opportunity to wager on these sorts of things. If anything, the man did what he did on the field, and that in and of itself is Hall of Fame worthy.
It's just wild that what kept him out so long is the reason. Like, again, we have a network here. This is why we do, as you said, every single day what we do. And it kept Pete out of the game. But look, I know other people out there are going to say, well, Pete kept Pete out of the game for a long time, too. So there is that juxtaposition that Pete could have helped himself. Baseball could have done better. It is sad that, hopefully if he does get in here, that the family will appreciate it. I know Pete had directly said that's not what he wanted. He did not want this to happen posthumously, but it does look like this door is being opened. Tonight's going to be interesting. By the way, Reds lost yesterday to the White Sox, so I'm officially done with the Reds watching them play in May baseball. Yeah. I can't handle it anymore. They lose in extras to the White Sox. So it should be an emotional day, you would think, for the Pete Rose backers out there. Nick Lodolo is going to be a bump here for the Reds against the White Sox. But, boy, that was a tough loss yesterday for Reds backers like myself, that's for sure. All right, big show to get to. When we do come back, I want to break down the NBA, what we saw last night, again, what we're going to see tonight with the Knicks and the Celtics and the Warriors and the Timberwolves. It feels like a lot of these series, Jensen's, are already over before they actually even play these games. And we got a bit of that feel last night in Cleveland. So we wonder if that's going to carry over to tonight's games here with the C's and the Warriors as those walking wounded try to keep pace somehow, some way. And we know that the Cavs could not do that. Also to the night on ice. And Winnipeg is up against it after their loss last night to Dallas. And what we're going to see tonight with the Panthers and the Maple Leafs and the Oilers and the Kings. So much more to get to as we just get it started here on a Wednesday. It's VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis, and I'm sure waking up today in Cleveland feels a little bit different than it did yesterday. Cavalier season is over. 114-105 is the final last night. Indiana comes in, gets this done in 5. I don't know where to begin. We can talk about the game first and then kind of go into totality rather with the season. But you get off to this great start yesterday in the first quarter. Donovan Mitchell played very well. And I think you're thinking, all right, 3-2, at least we're going back to a Game 6 in Indiana and push this thing and see if the Cavs can get healthier and maybe become the Cavaliers that we saw, 64 wins in the regular season. Jensen, what happened from there? Because after that first quarter, it just felt like the inevitability of the Pacers began, the pressure that the Pacers keep putting on you. And I start to go, is this still the Cavaliers team? I know that the injuries are going to make them different, but can we just chalk it up to the injuries, or is this a bigger concern even for next year?
So microcosm of their year, they were so great at relying on depth and multiple options to score, to facilitate. I do think the injury hampered Darius Garland. The toe injury did. Donovan Mitchell, insanely courageous, knowing what he had to get through for not only this series, but hampered pretty much the postseason and into the regular season. They tried to manage his foot injury as much as possible. Overall, the numbers don't lie here, Dave. There are times, and this was very synonymous to my playing career too. There were hitters that just saw me so well, and I could have thrown overhand, underhand, sidearm, wouldn't have mattered. They had my number. And vice versa, there were guys that I absolutely owned and great hitters, Hall of Fame guys. The stats don't lie in this regard. Great friend of mine and colleague does a fabulous job for the Indiana Pacers broadcasts on TV, Pat Boylan. Put the numbers out last night. The Cavaliers were 36-5 at home against all other opponents other than the Indiana Pacers. They were 0-5 against Indiana. To add more salt to the wound, the Pacers now, back-to-back years in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since, I think, 2014. They are now the first team in NBA history to achieve that feat as no higher than a 4 seed. They're a 4 seed this year. They were a 6 seed last year. So back-to-back years of not being a 3-seed or higher. And it just goes more towards, I think, Rick Carlisle outcoached Kenny Atkinson in some respects.
Yeah.
I do feel the injuries kind of slowed it. But, God, you saw Cleveland squeaky bum time at halftime, and they could not make a shot. And I thought the hysterical part about Max Strus sending the text message to all the guys before and just saying, if you're not a believer, don't show up. Well, that dude didn't show up. Beat it. What a clown. That was a terrible, terrible effort from Strus. Overall, it's more disappointing than anything as a Cleveland fan. But I think by the numbers, we're going to have a facelift in the Eastern Conference next year. And knowing what the Celtics may look like, what potentially the Bucks may look like without Giannis, it's there for the taking if the Cavaliers won it. But they look soft a lot. And I think Indiana physically and mentally took it to them. What a great lesson for them to learn. It's going to hurt. Yeah. And I hope it does. But the Pacers deserve all the credit in the world. They executed, and boy, they are riding the highs right now heading into the Eastern Conference Final.
I saw that story about Max Strus texting all of the teammates saying, hey, if you don't believe, don't show up, right? And then he doesn't show up. What, 0 for everything, 0 points for Strus, and you lose by 9. And by the way, I don't know how you are, Jensen, but like the when you start off the text to everybody in the chain kind of negative, like give me a positive message. Hey boys, this thing isn't over. Let's go. Let's give it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, don't show up, and then you don't show up. Like we can't do that sort of thing. That's the thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about it when I saw that from Strus. Like I like what he's trying to do, but it's almost like negative reinforcement. If you think this thing's over, then don't show. Dude, give me some positive stuff. It felt like there was nothing positive here from the Cavs after that first quarter last night, and that was gloom and doom the rest of the way. But the bigger story is, and you mentioned it, that the Pacers have owned the Cavs. They're going to move on. They're going to await the winner now of Boston and New York. It does feel like a foregone conclusion. And again, we'll get to the T-Wolves tonight as well against the Warriors. Are those series in fact done without Steph, obviously, for Golden State? They're big 11.5-point dogs tonight. But yet the Celtics are 4.5-point favorites, as we talked about off the top, even without Jason Tatum tonight.
Yeah, so I took a stab yesterday in pocket. I had the Warriors money line at plus 450. It's down to plus 390. And a lot of that predicated on I was keeping my fingers crossed that maybe Steph would be able to go at 50% better than no Steph. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I think it is kind of intriguing, Dave, that money line is down 60 cents from 450 to 390. But as far as the Knicks and the Celtics, if I'm New York, very similar to where the Pacers were last night is you're gonna get like that guy in the corner is gonna come out swinging. The Celtics will come out swinging. They got home court, but there's gonna be a nervousness to it. You've seen plenty of UFC fights where a guy may not be he knows he's got power.
Yeah.
But he's not confident in letting it rip the way that he would if he knew he was fully healthy. You know, he maybe be guarding against something here. I think that's kind of what you see in the Celtics. And the Knicks know they're on house money. You got two chances to end this thing, basically. You can do it tonight, or you can do it back home, in which it will be as hostile environment as the Celtics have ever faced. So I would say that this feels very similar to where you'd handicap the Pacers-Cavs last night was the Cavs will come out, but as long as the Pacers sustained it and were able to weather that first kind of onslaught, I think the same holds here for the Knicks in the Garden against the Celtics.
You know what's fascinating to me here, Jensen? I'm looking at the numbers now to win the title. And OKC is minus $1.20. That's it. The Knicks are 5-1, T-Wolves 550, Pacers 6-1, and then the teams the extreme long shots. Denver down now 3-2. Against OKC. They're 25-1. Boston, obviously, 30-1, down 3-1. And Golden State down 3-1. They're 130-1. So the teams that we thought might be the short guys are now the super long shots. But Denver at 25-1. And we talked about it, I believe, on Monday, where I mentioned that if Michael Malone was still the coach, I don't know that they blow yet another fourth quarter lead as they did last night. Jokic went off 44-15. And you still lose. SGA was very good down the stretch. He was not. I didn't think he was great until those final 4 minutes, and then he was spectacular. OKC runs away and hides, and they almost come back and somehow cover that number. They don't. Denver still gets the money there. 112-105 is the final. But are the Nuggets dead? Because I feel like this series, it is close. if they can go ahead and wrap this thing up, it'd be better for OKC to wrap it up in Denver in Game 6 because it gets to a Game 7. Don't you feel like, again, the thought that Murray and Jokic could still be the best duo that's left because of injuries? I don't think I'd want to see a Game 7 if I'm OKC.
Yeah, and in kind of that respect, Dave, I already jumped on the under 218 for tomorrow in that game. I think there's a level of exhaustion, and even JVT kind of said it a bit yesterday that felt that a few of these guys, and particularly Jokic, is just remarkable the series that he's had in trying to will this team through and prolonging this series. And I think now that might have been Denver's best bullet.
Oh man!
And yet it's back-to-back games though, Dave, in which the defensive prowess of Oklahoma City shows up in the fourth quarter. That has been a calling card for them. A big reason too why they covered a boatload of those double-digit home spreads. Yeah, there were times where they just blew people out and they would sit the starters in the fourth quarter. Didn't matter. But there were times where they might have had a lead of like 3 or 4, and then it balloons to 15 because they shut everyone down. Yep. So I do think it's curtains here for the Nuggets. Under 218 officially in pocket for me. And one other thing too, shout out to our people because JVT and Zach Cohen called the Pacers as that potential trip-up team for the Cavaliers. And also, Zach Cohen, you get your roses too, my friend. 44-1 he gave out, if you're VSiN.com, VSiN Pro subscriber, 44-1 he gave out that future for the Indiana Pacers to win the East January 18th. As he said on X last night, time to monetize. Job well done, my friend. That is quality work right there.
That's a great ticket to have in pocket right now. Whether it's going to be the Knicks or the Celtics, feels like it's going to be the Knicks. But Zach, that's great work there. 44-1. Very quickly, 3-1 is the final last night in Dallas over Winnipeg in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Dallas is now the betting favorite, Jensen, to win the Stanley Cup at plus 265. We talked about it in the first round, right? Whoever came out between Colorado and Dallas, if Dallas could survive with their injuries, all of a sudden now they come out of that, and now they're the favorites to win the cup here. So long shots here for the teams like Winnipeg that are down 3-1. They're 40-1. Caps are down 3-1. They're down. They're 50-1. VGK still some hope there, 25-1. But Edmonton could end that tonight. We'll talk more about that as the show goes on as well. But again, you want that access, like a Zachary Cohen long shot, 44-1. If you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you already had that information. All you have to do right now, go to VSiN.com/subscribe. You're going to get 2 extra months for free when you use the promo code PRO for $199 for 14 months. That's those daily best bets, exclusive betting splits, the VSiN Watch app access, and the NFL betting guide. How about that? Get ready. Football season is right around the corner. But when we come back, time for the Daily Diamond. It's been on fire. That's next year on VSiN By The Books.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
So much to get to here on this Wednesday edition. Again, top of the hour, Tyler Foldsom's going to join us to talk about the NFL schedule and really the PGA Championship. Cannot wait to break his chops a little bit over one standing wager we've had for about 4 years now. I'll just give you a little insight here, Jensen. If Jordan Spieth does not win a major, and he's got 3 more attempts to do it. We made this bet about 4 years ago. Tyler has to take me on an all-exclusive trip to Bandon Dunes. Everything is on his tab. How about that? Couple rounds.
All expenses paid.
All expenses paid.
You know what? Make sure you get a camera crew hired as part of that because we'll definitely, that footage would be fantastic just to see his organic reaction.
And just to see him keep pulling out the credit card every time we get wherever we go. I'm like, yeah, it'll be on his bill. So it's going to be a lot of fun there. If you've been following your plays on Torpedo Bat Tuesday and the Daily Diamond, then I would say that you're looking pretty good in your wallets and your portfolios. Jensen, you've been on fire the last couple days here. Let's get to what happened last night here very quickly before we get to today's edition of the Daily Diamond. But it doesn't matter when they get home, like the Cubs, but it got home in dramatic fashion, my friend.
And this was one of those where, and I don't know why this is synonymous when we take Cub games and totals at Wrigley. You remember the day that we had Jonathan Davis, and I said, "Oh, you never." if you ever want to bet blindly and over with the wind blowing out at Wrigley, it was the day the Diamondbacks were there. It was 11.5, something like that. And what was it, 2-1 in the bottom of the seventh?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get 20 runs. Well, this one was nip and tuck a bit. It was 4-2 Marlins late. And then the Cubs have a furious comeback. They walk it off. So not only does our over 8.5 for the full game hit, our Cubs team total by the hook ends up hitting because they win at 5-4 in walk-off fashion. So as you said, a win is a win is a win. A little sweaty last night, but get both those plays across from the Daily Diamond.
Yeah, very nice. And also on Torpedo Bat Tuesday yesterday, you hit on the Brandon Wu prop there and Vladdy Jr. to get 2 or more hits, runs, and RBIs as well. And then you gave it on a Daily Diamond, Max Fried with the under 2.5 earned runs. He just keeps churning, right? Like maybe we do have to start thinking about Max and the Cy Young?
I mean, he's a guy that you look at now with all these starts, and ironically, the Mariners end up walking off, the Yankees. That's the first game in 9 starts that the Yankees have lost where Max Fried has started a game. So that streak comes to an end. Seattle is for real, man. And we have them, at least I do, for most wins in May. They're going to have to kind of, kick the tires and light the fires, as I said earlier in the program for it. But the way that Fried is throwing the ball, no question. And Brian Wu has been really, you talk about a long shot guy, maybe some pizza money on Brian Wu at this point, know what his numbers might be.
Yeah, incredible night last night. And again, with the White Sox beating the Reds, and then you see the Cubs come back, and that's another game in the standings that flips that way. Another one that happened last night was Detroit with a 3-run bomb to walk it off against the Red Sox. And then as a Royals backer in that division, they've got a 1-0 lead late. They give that up. They get walked off by Houston. A wild night in Major League Baseball last night. So what does that portend for tonight? Well, let's get to it with today's edition of the Daily Diamond. All right, let's stay out west with the D-backs and the Gigantes of San Francisco. What do you have this evening?
All right, so this one looked pretty decent for Arizona last night, but then the Giants' offense comes roaring back. They end up getting the win 10-6, and let's stay on the Giants train today. Diamondback fans probably feel a bit snake bit, and they may again here in an afternoon affair out there for San Francisco. So Arizona, their pitching staff, has the third highest batting average allowed in day games. Okay, 272. That is pretty high. San Francisco, conversely, 27 homers in day games. That's tied for second most in Major League Baseball. Now, 2 guys that have been really hitting the ball well during the day, Matt Chapman, Wilmer Flores. Now, the Matt Chapman batting average, you're going to look at it and be like, no. It's the matchup against Eduardo Rodriguez today that is going to really make you feel a lot better. So let's go Matt Chapman, 2 more total bases, and Wilmer Flores, I think, is averaging almost an RBI per home game and also per day game right now. So Wilmer Flores to record an RBI will take a little shot right there.
By the way, both those teams, pretty good starts here. Obviously, D-backs 1 game over 500, 22 wins here. G-men 25 wins, 7 games over 500. Out of those 2 going forward, staying power, would you go to the Snakes or would you go to the Giants?
Boy, the Giants right now, plus 38 run differential. So you always love that. Diamondbacks are -5, but it feels like there are better days ahead with Arizona. I know Cody Decker was saying he would pick the Giants as the team to miss the playoffs, but the way their bullpen is right now, they got some veteran guys that need to stay healthy in the rotation, but that is a lineup in the National League that has surprised me beyond any realm of possibility. I did not expect for them to be able to score as consistently as they have. They're 13-6 at home. You defend home turf. They're 500 on the road. That's all you ask to do for a playoff team. I'll lean the Giants right now in that equation.
You know the value of a bullpen, and right now it looks really good for the Giants going forward there if they get enough offense. The great part of Anchorman is when they just break into song. Afternoon Delight. What do you have tonight, or today, I should say, to follow that moniker?
When I put it together, it wasn't the first thing that came to mind, but now I'm so loving that you did it this way. Okay, so we're staying with the day game theme. Hitters that have been really, really solid in the afternoon affairs. Aaron Judge, no shocker here, day, night, whatever. 20 day games, hitting .415, 5 doubles, 9 homers, 27 ribbies. His teammate, Paul Goldschmidt, almost near to him, running neck and neck, if you will. 400 average, 10 doubles,
wow,
and 13 ribbies. And then my man Stephen Kwan here in Cleveland, 19-day games, 364 average, 4 doubles, 3 homers, 13 ribbies. Let's go Aaron Judge, 3 or more total bases.
Whoa.
Because right now the 2 or more total bases, it is you're laying close to $2 in some respects. And then let's go Stephen Kwan, 2 or more hits, runs, and RBI. The Brewers are going to bring up a youngster in Logan Henderson to start today. Gavin Williams on the bump for the Guardians, minus a 142 favorite there. Total is at 8. Weather should be okay. It's kind of the best weather day of the series thus far here in Cleveland. So I think Kwani continues a great start to his campaign.
As a pitcher, did you like pitching in the day with the shadows, certainly late, maybe afternoons? But for hitters, I would think I don't want to hit during the day all the time because of some of the times you get that sunspots on you a little bit there. Nighttime, you know what you're getting with the lights.
Yeah, and for me, I think there were certain ballparks during the day I wanted no part of. Anaheim, ball just absolutely flies during the day. If you get to the Bay Area, too, at night, the marine layer, ball will not travel whatsoever. So depending on how some stadiums are and where the sun kind of sets, that also played into when I would come into games. So absolutely take advantage of those shadows. No question about it.
I wonder if you went with a little Top Gun motif for the last one here. Your name going to be up on that wall? It's the best of the best. What do you have today?
I don't know if Kelly Bidlin's up this early, but go ahead and put that on the list, Kelly. Most regular season wins, not just in May, but most regular season wins overall now. This market getting very intriguing here, Dave. Tigers walk off with Javi Baez 3-run home runs, so they keep pace, I should say, at the top of Major League Baseball. The Yankees, we just talked about their offense yesterday. Really shocking considering they're better in almost every respect without Juan Soto. Cubs get a walk-off win yesterday. They stay the course, and they're going to be in a division with probably the path of least resistance. The Red Sox are an intriguing dart throw here.
Wow.
Okay, 100-1. Tough loss for them against Detroit last night. But they're intriguing to me. I put the 2 teams at the bottom here for a workshop for people that are listening and watching. The Padres at 18-1 for the most regular season wins versus 9-1 to win the National League West. And similarly, the Giants at 35-1 for most wins versus 17-1 to win the West. The idea with this, Dave, and I think you know where I'm going, is you would have to circumvent the LA Dodgers. If we would assume that the Dodgers are going to win the most games, take the better number because you're not only going to win the division, but you'd have the most regular season wins. So I would lead people more to those markets rather than to win the National League West.
Yeah, it's really smart because that again, we talk about a lot on the network, making a similar bet but with a better number. That's a much better way to play the Padres and or the Giants. If you really like them to win the West, they're going to more than likely have to usurp the Dodgers. By the way, they lost last night, the Dodgers did. So every day the Dodgers lose, it doesn't happen very often. Gives you a little bit of hope and breathes a little bit of life into those numbers. And remember, it's pretty confident considering the company you're in. I like that in the pilot. VSiN.com, you can go there each and every day when you wake up, and you're going to get, how about Mr. Ed? Not the horse. But we're going to have your Preakness Stakes horse profiles there from Mr. Ed. Mike Somich does a great job breaking down all of the races. He's got his Preakness Post and Pace reports there for you. Wes Reynolds coming on the program today, our Wednesdays with Wes. He's got his outrights and his PGA Championship preview that's up there right now on the website. JD, the Iceman, he's got you covered for the night on ice for the NHL props and picks. Zachary Cohen, we talked about, he's been on a heater as well in the NBA. He's got a ticket on the Pacers over 40-1. Tyler Shoemaker, WNBA MVP picks as well. So 14 months, VSiN Pro for just $199. When you use promo code PRO, go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here. Going to have Tyler Fulgham join us at the top of the next hour. So that is going to be something you definitely want to listen to and watch. If you're watching on the VSiN Watch app, that's going to be very entertaining. We'll get to some of the NFL stuff with Tyler before we get to the PGA Championship. But the NFL, it's a big day, right? We're going to get the full schedule release. Danny, who does a great job helping us produce the show with Brandon, just said as we were coming out of break here, we do have breaking news, and it does involve not my team, your team, but America's team, and that would be the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. And, I'm thinking to myself, I said, let me guess who it's going to be, right? It's going to be a divisional opponent. That's normally what the Cowboys get. It's going to be, the Giants or the Commanders. I doubted they do the Eagles because that's going to be the Week 1 matchup here on September 4th to kick off the season. It's the Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming to Dallas on Turkey Day. Mom and Dad, you're listening at home in Virginia Beach. We don't have to move the time because it's still going to be the second game of the day. The Lions will be, of course, the first day game to kick off Thanksgiving. The Cowboys will be in their same slot. But Jensen, we're getting Patrick Mahomes now on Christmas Day, and you're getting Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving. Do you think that maybe it's going to be the Swifties that are going to be upset that their holidays are being taken away by the NFL?
I think it's more of everyone else who's like, can we get a holiday without Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
They're everywhere.
Okay, so, I get that. Like, this is what I kind of asked you yesterday: is would you rather, and if we can marry the traditionalist in all of us having Lions and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. It is something that we've all grown up with, at least, those of us millennials, Gen Xers, Zs, whatever. It's been there. So I'm okay with that. Rotating opponents, I'm okay with that. But do we find a way that up and coming teams like I'm thinking like the Broncos, the young quarterback and Bo Nix. I'm thinking of the Chargers, with Justin Herbert and, with Jim Harbaugh, thinking of, those kinds of things where the year before you kind of like, okay, a little more marketable, like continue the momentum, continue the crescendo. A lot of people are going to watch the Chiefs. All right. I'm kind of sour on it. It's going to be huge because from a contest standpoint now, Dave, that's an unplayable game.
Yeah.
That Chiefs-Cowboys matchup is now unplayable for circa Survivor because Thanksgiving is its own week. You can't do that. So you can't save the Cowboys or the Chiefs for Thanksgiving week. That is what I take out of that.
I was going to say, I love where your brain just went to because we just got that news, people, and this is what it's going to be today, right? We're getting all these marquee games. We're going to get the full schedule release. Tomorrow's show is going to be wild as well, breaking down some numbers because this number is not out yet with that news just being announced that it's going to be Dallas hosting Kansas City in the traditional Thanksgiving Day game. I can't wait to see what those numbers look like. I'm going to assume right now, just throw it out there, 2.5, 3 for the Cowboys. We'll see what that number actually looks like. But Mahomes was adamant last year. He did not like doing this, but it's going to be third year in a row that the Chiefs will play on Christmas Day. That is against the Broncos. That number, of course, is already out right now for that Christmas Day game. And right now we're seeing the Chiefs 4.5-point favorites in that one on Christmas Day. 44.5 is the total on that. So get used to it, people. The Chiefs are going to be inundating your holiday season this year and maybe for many years to come. I know sometimes the players are like, man, we don't like playing on these holidays. How about this, Jensen? If you don't like playing on holidays, could I interest you in playing in Brazil and or Dublin and or London and or Berlin and or Madrid? Because we've got games now in more cities and countries than we ever have before. The International Day games are set. And they will start the day after the Cowboys and the Eagles begin the season on the 4th. It is official. We talked about it. Chiefs, Chargers, Brazil, Sao Paulo, they're coming back there. Remember, the Eagles went there last year to play the Packers in the second game of the year. Eagles did go on to win the Super Bowl. So I think week 1, maybe it's not as big a deal. But Brandon Valesky, our producer, I know he's not happy about this. The Vikings are going to be the first team ever to go back-to-back in different, like the Jags would play in London for a couple weeks. No. They're traveling internationally. on the 28th. Right. The Vikings going to play in Dublin against the Steelers. Then the next week they're going to London to play the Browns. How about that travel schedule?
Okay, so my mind immediately goes to contest picks, and I would be fading the Browns, knowing the Vikings have already body clockwise been over there, as being in Dublin, and then, just jumping right over to the United Kingdom to play in London. So that's initially where I go. You mentioned Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
Remember when we were going to Mexico City and it's like 1,000,000 miles up in the air, and so the total was just flying over. We get a very pedestrian, closer to sea level. Now it is elevated, almost 2,500 feet. Sao Paulo is. So these are the things we think about on this show, on this network, for how we handicap these games. So I'm very intrigued to see what that total is initially, and how quickly people jump on the over there. Just knowing, a lot of public bettors love the elevation, love the over. And so anxious to see what that number is. What do you think? 50, 51 right now? Just know that, or do you think it goes higher than that? 54?
I would think maybe in the 51 category, 50, 51 initially. Okay. I will say this for everybody that wants to back those over. Remember, the field conditions are sometimes the biggest bugaboo with some of these things. And speaking of the schedule, as we're looking at it, and again, let's just give you the full slate of the international games here. After those back-to-back for the Vikings, it's going to be in London for the Broncos and the Jets on October 12th. The next week, it's still going to be in London, but it's going to be two completely different teams. The Vikings are like, why couldn't we have had that situation? Rams and Jags will then replace the Broncos and Jets in London. And then in Berlin, we're going to Germany for the Falcons and the Colts. Remember, Tom Brady went there a couple years ago as a member of the Buccaneers. And then Sunday, November 16th in Madrid, Spain, for the first time, we got the Commanders and the Dolphins. So just wild what the NFL is doing. Shameless plug, GM Shuffle, wherever you get your podcast, take a listen. I talked to Jeff Schwartz, obviously played double digits in the league, about the schedule release, what we're looking at, and what the players themselves might look at. Take a listen to Jeff.
The things that players look for, very easy. So number one is the bye week. The bye week is important for a physical reset, but for a mental reset, right? Like you go to training camp, let's just round it to August 1st, okay? And then you have the whole entire preseason and training camp. You get the regular season starts, and you go, let's say, to mid-November or early November. Like that's a good, solid portion of football. It's a long bit of football. Secondly, I think you look for Thursday night games. Sort of the same idea where it's a short week, but then that weekend is off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're off after a Thursday game. And I like those most often earlier in the season when you're not beat up. It's kind of a combination of a bunch of other things. One is sort of national TV games, because those are typically the games that they don't matter more, but you're playing the better teams. And your friends and family get to watch you play. So those are important games. Then it becomes personal, right? Like rivalry games, like the team that cuts you. When you play the team that cuts you, or with the team that traded you, the team that spurned you in the draft.
Oh, I like the chip on the shoulder games, Jensen, right? Because you talk about it for you and for baseball players. If you get traded, you get drafted and moved to, you do remember those things. So those players will have those individual things that when do we play the team that cut me, that gave up on me, whatever. But it was interesting that he mentioned the Thursday. They don't mind those earlier in the year. Versus later in the year. And I think that's what Mahomes was getting at last year, right? They kept playing those Thursday games, and it kind of messed up the body clocks late, and your body's banged up, right? So if you have these type of games that are a little bit off the beaten path, you'd rather have those early in the year via Jeff versus late in the year.
It feels right. And again, just knowing what the attrition on the body is at those different portions of the schedule. Also, for a handicapping standpoint for us, too, we always look for those Thursday night, the short weeks, right, later in the year, just knowing you might be able to get a team, especially that has to go on the road for those Thursday night games, and where it could be dire straits for them just from a physicality standpoint, and then backing that team who has that home game and then potentially comes back for another home game where they don't have to travel. Speaking of travel, the Bills have no West Coast trips for their opponents, their away opponents. Just factor that in for some of the other markets, and we'll see how that schedule gets allocated. But that was something that stuck out to me when we're going through it eventually and see where this schedule reveal is tonight.
And I know Chiefs fans are going to say, wait a minute, we're playing on Christmas Day, we're playing on Thanksgiving Day, we got to go to Brazil for week 1. I don't even count week 1. It's like a one-off because your season really hasn't started yet. So I'm not going to say that hampers maybe any handicap long-term for the Chiefs because it did not affect. I don't think it affected the Packers or the Eagles last year. I know it's small sample size, so that one. But I'm with Brandon, our producer, about the Vikings. I do think that's a little bit of a hose job. Back-to-back international games, but you're not even in the same city. You got to go to a different country. That seems a little bit, to me, if I'm a Viking backer, I go, why'd you do that to us?
Hour and 15-minute flight, though, from Dublin to London.
That's all it is?
So just a hop, skip, and a jump.
See, I'm terrible with time changes. Bet the Preakness if you want to do so. You can do that at First Bet, and you're going to get rewarded for it. New customers use the promo code VSiN200. You're going to get a 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. So check it out at firstbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200.